Israeli forces launched on Friday several airstrikes against Syrian army facilities in the province of Latakia and Tartus. Panama's Environmental Advocacy Center, together with several environmental groups, present a report that exposes the impact occurring within the facilities of Panama Mining Company in Donoso. And in Venezuela, Alba social movements meets in Caracas on the occasion of the 20th anniversary of the regional alliance. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. Israeli forces launched on Friday several airstrikes against Syrian army facilities in the province of Latakia and Tartus. According to the Arab multinational TV channel Mayadin, the Israeli forces continued their incursions into the south of Syria towards the capital Damascus. On Thursday, the Zionist regime announced it had achieved total air superiority in Syria and that it had destroyed 86% of the Arab nation's air defense system. However, it clarified that some air defense complexes were still operational, but are not considered a major threat to the Israel Air Forces. France's new Prime Minister François Bayrou said he is well aware of the scale of France's financial and political problems comparing to the country's budget deficit to the Himalayan mountainous range. President Emmanuel Macron named centrist Bayrou as his new prime minister after Michael Burns, who was forced by far-right and left-wing lawmakers to step down after just 3 months in office in a historic not-confidence vote last week.
I want to say some very simple things. The first is that no one knows the difficulty of the situation better than I do. I have taken ill-considered risks in my political life to raise the issue of debt and deficits in the most important elections. In the most important electoral deadlines.
And the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Royal Consalvens, is arriving to Caracas, Venezuela, in the framework of the Alba TCP Summit. And as you can say, the new French Prime Minister also warned against the glass wall that has been built up between citizens and those in power during the handover of power from his predecessor Michael Burns at Mitigans.
I simply want to express that I have 2 obsessions. The first, which I consider one of the most serious risks, is the glass wall that has been built up between citizens and those in power.
Le mur de verre qui s'est construit entre les citoyens et les pouvoirs. Entre la base.
It exists between the grassroots, men and women, families, workers, job seekers, retirees.
Ceux qui sont à la retraite, ceux qui mènent la vie des Français dans.
Those who live the lives of French people in their neighborhoods and face challenges that are not reflected in public life.
Ceux qui affrontent des difficultés dont ils ne voient pas le relais.
For me, this glass wall, this separation, this rupture, is an enemy that must be fought.
Cette rupture, pour moi, c'est.
Indian police said on Friday that at least 6 people were killed and more than 2 dozen injured in a fire at a private hospital in the south of the country. The fire broke out late on Thursday night in the southern state of Tamil Nadu, and its cause is still being investigated. All 6 victims were found unconscious inside a lift at a hospital in the city of Dindigul. Police Superintendent Aid Pradip stated that around 30 people had been injured, but all were stable. The fire started at the reception area of the ground floor and rapidly spread to the other floors. The United Nations Educational, Scientists and Cultural Organization UNESCO reported that at least 68 journalists and media workers had been killed in the lines of duty so far in 2024. The report said that 60% of those killed were working in countries in conflict such as Palestine, Ukraine, Colombia, Iraq, Lebanon, Myanmar, Sudan, Syria, Chad, Somalia, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. According to the document, this follows an unsettling trend seen in 2023, with more journalists lost their lives in conflicts over the past 2 years than in any comparable period since 2016-2017. Let's take a very short break, but remember you can join us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, where you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. Panama's environmental advocacy centers, together with several environmental groups, present a report that exposes the impacts occurring within the facilities of the Panamanian mining company in Donoso. Center manager Joanna Abrego said that the mining project represents a great risk due to the lack of adequate monitoring due to the repeated failures of the equipment that guarantees the structure's stability. A report presented by the mining company to the Ministry of the Environment explains the danger posed by the proximity of the water fund to this northern dam. Panama's environmental groups are calling on the government to hire a company that specializes in the mine closure process in order to properly manage all these minerals and other chemicals. In Cuba, members of the Central Committee of the Communist Party analyzed proposals for the 2025 economic plan. The party addressed the evolution of the government's projection to correct failures and boost the island's economy. At the meeting, it was agreed to adopt greater coordination and objectivity in the construction of models and identification of risk to mitigate the negative impact on the Cuban people. The Communist Party has set as a priority the recovery of the electric power system for the 2025 period, in addition to the implementation of the new mechanism for the allocation of foreign currency, as well as the consolidation of defense of the island. On Thursday, Haitian Prime Minister Alex Desir-Foliam announced that those responsible for the massacres in the country will be arrested and victims will have justice. The premier also pledged to redouble security and affirmed that top officials of the National Police are working on strategies to guarantee security. In this regard, he said they are working hand in hand with the Ministry of Economy on a series of projects to help restore businesses destroyed and burned by armed groups or affected by their activities. Despite the deployment of a multinational police force, violent criminal groups continues to control much of the capital, Port-au-Prince. Moving on. Since July 2024, catastrophic flooding in Chad has caused widespread devastation, affecting nearly 2 million people, making it one of the most severe catastrophes of all times. As the flood waters rose, families sought safety on higher grounds, driving whatever belongings they could carry. Numerous peoples have lost every day, and more than 13,000 have been forced to seek shelters in temporary camps. The global climate crisis is increasing the frequency and severity of natural disasters such as floods, droughts, and cyclones, devastating the life and livelihoods of countless people. Chad, which is one of the countries most affected and less prepared to cope with climate change, is also currently facing a serious humanitarian crisis. U.S. scientists has discovered that the nearly 3 million rivers that wave across the world are experiencing a rapid decrease in water levels with potentially drastic implications. Scientists map the water flow of every river on the planet every day for the past 35 years using a combination of satellite data and computer modeling. This study revealed that 44% of the world's largest rivers experience a decrease in the amount of waters flowing through them each year, and some even have sized. On the other hand, for the smaller rivers, mostly in mountainous areas, the situation was different, with only 17% experiencing an increase in flow. Although the study didn't delve into the reasons for these changes, the author claims that clear rivers driver is the climate crisis caused by the human activity. Let's take our last break, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, where you'll be able to watch our interviews, top stories, special broadcasts, and more. Hit the subscribe button and active the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. We'll find a short break, don't go away. Welcome back. The social movements of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of our Americas met in Caracas on the occasion of the 20th anniversary of the Regional Alliance. During the meeting, Alba TCP Secretary General Jorge Arriaza reaffirmed the values of the governments that make up the alliance. Arriaza also points out the objectives of Alba addressing social, economic, and health sectors, among others. In turn, he assured that the freedom of the people of the Americas will be achieved through the creation of a great confederation of countries.
Eso fue ya el comienzo de una disputa histórica que seguimos nosotros.
That was already the beginning of a historical dispute that we continue to live, our peoples, their right to be free, but not only to be free, but to unite, because the true independence of Venezuela, of Argentina, of Mexico, of Bolivia, of Cuba, of whoever, will come the day we constitute that great confederation of countries, and that those of the North have to practically beg us for natural resources, or for trade, or for talent, or for science. I am sure that they have kept us fractured and divided to prevent the birth of that great nation.
Arriaza urged members of the Bolivarian Alliance to generate a profound cooperation between governments.
Dear comrades, we have to define what they are, you know them very well, but in order to raise them to our governments, because the idea is that we can generate a deep connection between the governments of Alba TCP, that we can take a battle that you propose to the COP and environment summits, that we can take your proposal to the United Nations, that we can take some proposals from the Council of Social Movements to CELAC. That we can formally raise our voice in the diplomacy between states based on what you suggest, create and deliver in this Council of Social Movements.
And in this context, our correspondent in Venezuela, Belén de los Santos, who was at the house of the Alba to bring us the highlights of these dates in which the social movements council was relaunched. Let's listen.
Hello, studios. We continue here in Caracas, and right beside me is underway the Social Movement Council of Alba. We are at the House of Alba in Caracas, and this council is underway, gathering leaders and representatives from different social organizations, from Alba countries, from other countries, from the regions, from other countries of the world. And this is the relaunching of this council, Social Movement Council, that intends to put a really special place for social movements to gather together and have their own read on the current situation of the world, and have their own proposals for concrete actions that they can then bring also in dialogue with the Presidential Council of Alba, and then exchange what are the people's needs, what are the people's demands in every territory to really foster the social change that the Alba mechanism seeks from its creation 20 years ago. So this is a very significant step, and let's recall that this is part of the activities that are underway just before the 24th Alba Summit that is supposed to take place tomorrow, Saturday, December 14th, on its 20th anniversary. So just one of the main ideas that are just being taught here in this council is the idea that this is just a gathering to think about concrete action. This is not just the leaders coming together to discuss proposals, but just thinking about an integrated mechanism of cooperation that is thought out for concrete actions. That is what some of the representatives here, of course, Secretary General Jorge Arreaza, and also Foreign Vice Minister Carlos Ron, he's the Vice Minister for the North America, he was highlighting the importance of thinking about concrete action, and just for this council not to be about talking. And what are those concrete actions? Well, those are being discussed right beside me, but one of the proposals has to do with the brigade mechanism. So the brigades are meant to foster the sense of internationality, of solidarity, but also open a way for specific works in the different territories to be carried out by the cooperation among social movements. So the idea, another of the ideas present here, was not to build anything from scratch, but to really understand what are the social movements coming here from Latin America, for example, what experiences and territories are they carrying out in their countries, and what can be made advantage of, so that the internationality can work along those lines. So they're talking about brigades of cooperation, brigades of exchange and of education. And this means, for example, exchanging experiences related to literacy, exchanging experiences related to a feminist, popular feminism as well. So taking all of these experiences together just to build on concrete work efforts that can really foster the social change that Alba countries are leading. This will all culminate tomorrow in the 24th Alba Summit, and the social movements gathered here are going to bring these proposals to the Presidential Council, and that is what marks and what sets Alba apart as a mechanism. They were just saying Alba is a mechanism like none other, and one of the things that set it apart is this presence of social movements with the proposals, with their vision. It is a mechanism envisioned for and from the territories, and that is happening right now, and it is happening here in Caracas. So that is one of the activities today. Let's recall that also the foreign ministers from the Alba countries are also meeting in Caracas, and this is all in preparation for the 20th anniversary of the mechanism founded by Fidel Castro and Hugo Chavez Frias. We will continue to cover this very significant week from Venezuela. We go back to you now.
We have come to the end of this brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook, on X, and on Instagram as well. For Telesur English, I'm from the south of Marrero. Thank you for watching.